A single moment at the end of the Rookie Season 8 changed everything. A moment of joy that instantly turned into fear. Just when Tim Bradford and Lucy Chen finally stepped into their long-awaited happiness, the world around them collapsed into chaos. A beach engagement that should have marked a beginning instead ended in silence, fear, and disappearance. And now, one question refuses to leave the minds of fans everywhere: what really happens next when everything they built is suddenly taken away in a single breath? The Rookie Season 9 opens in the shadow of that devastating finale, where nothing feels stable anymore and every second carries pressure. Tim and Lucy are no longer in control of their story. They are missing, taken under circumstances that hint at something far bigger and more dangerous than a random attack. The joy that once defined their relationship is now replaced by uncertainty, and that contrast becomes the emotional core of everything that follows. Inside the LAPD, the atmosphere shifts instantly from celebration to urgency. There is no time to process what happened, only time to act. Every officer, every resource, every decision becomes focused on one mission: bring them back alive. But the situation is not simple. Early signs suggest that this is not an ordinary kidnapping. It is organized, calculated, and deeply connected to a criminal force that has been watching from the shadows. The name Heath Everett continues to echo through every layer of the investigation. But what makes things even more dangerous is the suspicion that he is not acting alone. Someone inside the system, someone with access and knowledge, may be helping him stay one step ahead. That possibility turns the rescue into something far more unstable. Because now, the real threat is not only outside the department, it may also be inside it. As the investigation begins, the emotional weight on the team becomes almost unbearable. Nolan, Gray, and the entire precinct are forced into a race against time where every lead could be the difference between life and death. But pressure does not only come from the case itself, it comes from fear. Fear that they are already too late. Fear that Tim and Lucy are being moved, hidden, or worse, used as leverage in a larger game. Every update brings hope, but every silence brings doubt. And in that unstable balance, trust begins to crack in unexpected ways. Meanwhile, away from the public eye, Tim and Lucy's situation becomes a battle of endurance. Stripped from their environment, they are forced to rely on each other in ways they never have before. Their strength is no longer just physical or professional, it is emotional. Every decision matters. Every word matters, and even in science, their connection becomes their only anchor. But survival is not guaranteed. Whoever is behind this knows exactly how to keep control, and every passing hour tightens that control further. Back at the precinct, the investigation takes a darker turn when patterns begin to emerge that suggest this operation has been planned far in advance. This is not a sudden attack. It is a carefully built trap designed to test the limits of the department and break it from within. The deeper the team digs, the more they realize that saving Tim and Lucy may require more than just police work. It may require sacrifices no one is prepared to make. And as Season 9 unfolds, one truth becomes unavoidable. This is not just a rescue mission anymore. It is a fight for survival on every level, where every second brings them closer to either bringing them home or losing them forever. The investigation deepens, and what once looked like a clear rescue mission slowly turns into something far more disturbing. Every new clue about Tim Bradford and Lucy Chen leads to dead ends, false trails, and carefully placed distractions. It feels as if someone is always one step ahead, watching every move the LAPD makes and adjusting the game in real time. The confidence inside the precinct begins to fade, replaced by frustration and fear. Because now, it is no longer just about finding two missing officers. It is about understanding how they were taken so cleanly in the first place. As the pressure builds, Sergeant Gray takes full control of the operation, knowing that any mistake could cost lives. Every decision becomes heavier. Every order carries consequences that cannot be undone. But even with discipline and experience, there is a growing sense that this case is different. The enemy is not just reactive, it is strategic. Someone has planned this with precision, anticipating law enforcement protocols and using them against the system itself. This realization changes everything. The team is no longer chasing a criminal. They are trying to outthink a mind that understands how they think. Inside the shadows of this operation, Heath Everett's presence becomes more threatening than ever. He is no longer just a name tied to the kidnapping, he becomes a symbol of control, a reminder that this situation was never random. But the most dangerous discovery comes when the team begins to suspect that Everett may not be acting alone. A hidden collaborator, possibly someone with access to internal intelligence, may be feeding him information. This suspicion creates tension inside the precinct, because when trust breaks down, even the strongest team begins to weaken from within. Every officer becomes a potential question mark. Conversations are measured, information is restricted, even allies start to look uncertain. And in that environment, mistakes become more likely. A single wrong assumption could send the entire investigation in the wrong direction. Yet, despite the growing paranoia, the team cannot stop moving forward. Time is running out, and every passing hour increases the danger for Tim and Lucy. Somewhere out there, they are still alive, still waiting, but their window of survival is shrinking with every decision made too slowly. At the same time, Tim and Lucy's struggle takes on a darker tone. Their situation is not just physical captivity, it is psychological pressure. Their captors understand that breaking their spirit is just as important as controlling their movement. Isolation, uncertainty, and constant threat are used to weaken them over time. But what makes them dangerous to their captors is not just their strength as individuals, but their bond. Even in the worst conditions, they rely on each other in ways that cannot be broken easily. That connection becomes their only resistance against a system designed to crush hope. As the LAPD edges closer to uncovering the truth, they begin to realize something even more unsettling. This entire operation may have a larger purpose beyond just Tim and Lucy. It could be a message, a test, or even a setup designed to expose weaknesses inside the department itself. And if that is true, then the real danger is not only in finding them, but in what happens once they are found. Because some traps are not meant to end with escape. They are meant to begin something far more destructive. As the clock keeps moving forward, the Rookie Season 9 pushes deeper into a level of tension that feels almost unbearable. Because now every second is no longer just about investigation. It is about survival. The search for Tim Bradford and Lucy Chen becomes a full-scale emergency that stretches the entire LAPD to its limits. But the deeper the team goes, the clearer it becomes that this is not a simple kidnapping case. It is a controlled operation designed with intelligence, patience, and a disturbing understanding of how law enforcement reacts under pressure. Every move the precinct makes is being anticipated. Every strategy is being countered before it even fully forms. And slowly, a terrifying truth begins to settle in. They are not chasing the kidnappers anymore. They are being led by them. Inside the precinct, the emotional weight is crushing. Officers who once worked with confidence now operate under constant uncertainty. There is no comfort in experience anymore because experience itself is being used against them. Sergeant Gray stands at the center of it all, carrying the responsibility of decisions that could either save 2 lives or destroy everything he has built over his career. Every update that arrives brings a new layer of urgency, but also a new layer of confusion. Leads appear and disappear, evidence points in conflicting directions, and the sense of control slowly slips away from the people who are supposed to have it. What makes this situation even more dangerous is the growing suspicion that someone inside the system is involved. This is no longer just about an external threat like Heath Everett. It is about the possibility that the operation is being supported from within. That idea alone is enough to fracture trust across the entire department. Because when you cannot trust your own information, your own communications, or even your own allies, every decision becomes a risk. Conversations become shorter. Meetings become more guarded. Even silence starts to feel suspicious. And in that kind of environment, fear spreads faster than facts. Heath Everett remains at the center of the storm, but not as a visible enemy. Instead, he feels like a shadow that extends across every layer of the case. His presence is felt in every delay, every missing piece of evidence, every carefully misdirected clue. But what disturbs the team even more is the growing realization that Everett may not be the mastermind alone. someone with access, knowledge, and influence, is helping him stay ahead. This unknown collaborator becomes the most dangerous part of the entire situation, because an invisible enemy inside your own structure is harder to fight than any criminal on the outside. As the investigation intensifies, the team begins to uncover patterns that suggest this entire event was not spontaneous. It was planned long in advance, possibly even tested in smaller ways before reaching this level. The precision of the operation suggests deep preparation, and that changes the emotional tone completely. This is no longer just about rescue, it is about understanding intent. Why Tim and Lucy? Why now? And what is the real purpose behind putting the LAPD under this kind of pressure? The answers remain hidden, but the questions alone are enough to destabilize even the strongest minds inside the precinct. While all of this unfolds on the outside, Tim and Lucy are living through a completely different kind of battle on the inside. Their captivity is not defined only by physical restraint, but by psychological pressure that grows heavier with each passing hour. Their environment is controlled, their movements restricted, and their sense of time distorted. The goal of their captors is not just to hold them, it is to break them down slowly, mentally, and emotionally. But what makes this dynamic different from anything they have faced before is that they are not alone in it. They have each other. That connection becomes their strongest weapon. Even when everything around them is designed to isolate and weaken them, Tim and Lucy rely on silent understanding, shared awareness, and emotional resilience that cannot be easily destroyed. Every glance, every small moment of communication becomes a reminder that they are still fighting, still aware, still together. But survival is not guaranteed. The people holding them understand exactly how to apply pressure without crossing the point of immediate collapse. It is a slow game, a psychological war where endurance matters more than strength. Back at the precinct, desperation begins to replace structure. As time passes, the line between strategy and urgency begins to blur. Some officers push for aggressive action, while others insist on caution, knowing that a single wrong move could cost everything. This conflict creates internal tension at the worst possible moment, because unity is the only thing that could increase their chances of success. But unity becomes harder to maintain when trust is already damaged and every decision feels like a gamble. Then comes the most dangerous realization of all. This entire situation may not just be about Tim and Lucy. It may be about the LAPD itself. A carefully designed test of weakness, response, and vulnerability. A way to measure how the system reacts when two of its most important officers are removed from the equation. If that theory is true, then rescuing them is only the first step. Because the real event is what happens after. What changes inside the department. What fractures remain, and what new threats emerge once this operation finally reaches its conclusion. As Season 9 moves forward, everything builds toward one unavoidable truth. This is not just a rescue mission. It is not just a kidnapping case. It is a calculated operation designed to push every character to their emotional, professional, and psychological limits. And as long as Tim Bradford and Lucy Chen remain missing, the entire LAPD is trapped in a race against time where the real enemy is not only trying to escape capture, but trying to control the outcome of the entire story before it even ends. The story of The Rookie Season 9 does not end with answers. It ends with questions that refuse to disappear. Because even after everything we know, even after every clue, every theory, and every desperate attempt to understand what is happening, one truth still stands stronger than anything else. Tim Bradford and Lucy Chen are not just missing officers anymore. They are the heart of a situation that has pushed the entire LAPD into its most dangerous moment yet. And as the story moves forward, it becomes clear that their disappearance is only the beginning of something much larger. What makes this season so emotionally heavy is not just the danger itself, but the silence that follows every failed lead. Every time the team thinks they are close, the trail breaks again. Every time hope starts to build, it collapses under new uncertainty. And in that cycle of hope and disappointment, the pressure inside the precinct grows unbearable. Because this is not just about solving a case anymore, it is about saving two people who mean everything to the people searching for them. And while the LAPD fights against time, Tim and Lucy are fighting against something even more personal. They are trapped in a situation where fear is constant, but so is awareness. They are not just surviving physically, they are surviving mentally. And in that kind of environment, every second becomes a test of strength. But what keeps them alive is not just endurance, it is trust. Trust in each other. Trust that no matter how dark things get, they are not alone in this fight. That connection becomes the only thing stronger than the fear around them. Back at the precinct, the weight of responsibility slowly changes everyone. Officers who once believed in procedure now find themselves questioning every rule. Leaders who once trusted structure now feel the limits of control. Because when the system is pushed this far, even the strongest foundations begin to shake. And in that instability, something very dangerous happens. Doubt spreads faster than facts. And when doubt takes over, even the best teams can fall apart from the inside. But the most unsettling part of this entire situation is the realization that this was never random. It was designed. Every step, every delay, every misdirection feels like part of a larger plan that no one fully understands yet. And that raises one question that becomes impossible to ignore. If this was planned so carefully, then what is the final goal? Is it just about Tim and Lucy, or is it about something much deeper? Something that reaches into the very structure of the LAPD itself. As time continues to pass, urgency turns into desperation. The line between strategy and emotion begins to blur. Every decision feels heavier than the last, because now every officer knows that one mistake could change everything. And yet, despite all the pressure, they cannot stop. They cannot give up. Not when two of their own are still out there. Not when there is still even a chance to bring them home. And that is what makes The Rookie Season 9 so powerful. It is not just a story about crime or investigation. It is a story about loyalty under pressure, about love tested in the darkest conditions, about a team forced to confront something they were never fully prepared for, losing control over a situation that keeps evolving faster than they can understand. So as fans wait for the next chapter, one feeling stays constant: uncertainty. Because nothing about this story feels predictable anymore. Every answer seems to open a new question. Every solution feels temporary. And every moment pulls us deeper into a story where the real danger is not just what is happening outside, but what is slowly breaking apart inside. And maybe that is the real question Season 9 is asking us all along. How far would you go to save someone you refuse to lose?